Jose Ortiz.
Today, thank you for watching the Alumni Spotlight.
A special show for alumni to share stories about their experience at Keyport High School and how it's affected their lives.
We have a very special guest today from the class of 1991 named Kevin Fredericks.
Kevin, thank you so much for joining us. So, how are you doing today?
I'm well, and yourself?
I'm doing pretty good.
Okay.
That's good.
Kevin, what was the high school like when you were a student here?
I think the biggest thing about the high school that was special then was that it was everybody got along. There wasn't groups, or there was groups, but they weren't cliques. So if somebody was doing something, hey, let's all go do it together. It wasn't we weren't segregated out. The town is that way too, and I still believe it's that way now. So that was a big part of the high school, because if you talk about melting pots and you talk about the way the world is, it set me up in a good way of life that I could accept all groups, all different types of people, and it really did help me move into a world that I could be prepared for anything. So I think the school did a very good job of that. Most of the teachers were really good at that. Playing sports here, there was a community around it, not just the school obviously, but a large community. But I believe that it was something that really bonded people in a stronger way. About the only thing that was that we kind of had a fun battle about in school was I grew up in Browns Point, which is the west side of Keyport. I have a tattoo that says Browns Point on it. And then you have Lockport on the other side of town, and we would play sports against each other and things like that. But we were all still friends. But we to this day, the Browns Point Kings are better than the Lockport Aces. Just next story. So that's
Friendly competition.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the school, it really was the special part of it was that we were together, and it didn't matter if you were a freshman or senior. It was really tight.
I believe it's still like that now.
Yeah, I feel like
Which
it's
is
very.
good.
Yeah, it's like I think it's really good that this is such a small town and that everybody just learns to get along with each other.
Everyone's there for each other, which is very nice.
Yeah. So you mentioned you play sports. Like what types of sports do you play, and what other activities do you do?
I played football for 4 years. I wrestled for 4 years. Track for 4 years.
Yes.
I was on the powerlifting team, the very short-lived powerlifting team, for about 2 years.
Wow, that's powerlifting team?
Yes, it was a club, I should say.
Club.
But I was part of that as well. Yeah, they were I think except for track, and well, I was a horrible wrestler, just to be fair. And track, 1 year we had a lot of people on the team, and then the rest of the years it was like 7 or 8.
That's how it is. Last year there was a big track team, but I think the year before
was
right?
very so small.
And it's starting to pick up. But in football, that was my primary sport. I actually played football in college as well.
That's awesome. What position you play?
Well, here you go. It's a fun one. In high school, I was a fullback and a linebacker, and then Coach Ciccatelli told me my sophomore year, you are no longer number 23, you're now number 65.
Wow.
And I said, 65 isn't a fullback number. And he's like, no, you're a guard. So I was one of the Keyport guards at the long line of the 5'9", 170-pound guards at Keyport.
That's awesome.
And that's what I was. But I said, am I still a linebacker? He said, yes, I'll play whatever else you want me to play, as long as I'm still a linebacker. I went to college. I went to 2 colleges, transferred from one. My first year was a linebacker. And then the next 3, when I transferred, the coach said, you were never playing linebacker here. So I was a fullback.
Wow.
So I went back to fullback, and that's what I did I played 4 years of college.
That's awesome.
Great. I like hearing about football. I don't play football, but I think it's very interesting how they all have experiences like that.
I've coached football for a really long time as well. I think this is the first year in a long time that I get to coach.
Wow.
Either whether Keyport Indians, the Bay Shore Bucks, Max is my son, Max Fredericks. I coached him for Keyport, Matawan, and Hazlitt, because we were just trying to find teams.
Yeah.
And then Luke is my younger son. And my other son goes to Red Bank. That's G. But Luke is a freshman now, and I coached him for the last 3 years.
That's
so
awesome.
I kind of took a year off, but I'm anxious to probably go back next year. I know my wife doesn't want to hear that.
Very nice. Can you share your experiences after you graduated from Keyport High School?
Okay. I mean, I touched on it a little bit, but I'll expand. When I graduated, I went to Uppsala College to start. I transferred from Uppsala. I actually started college, I was an art major, realized I was going to star, decided not to be an art major. Switched to physical therapy. And then from that, I transferred to Kane. They had a better physical therapy program. So when I transferred to Kane University, Kane College at the time, I'm the first graduating class in Kane University.
Oh, that's cool.
Now, let's be fair, I was in college a long time. That's why I'm the first graduating class. But went to Kane, and then I actually switched my major to physical education, adult fitness, which, if you're in the science world, it's more commonly known as exercise physiology. They just call it that there. So I am an exercise physiologist, but went through Kane, 3 years of football there. Had a good experience. I liked school. After my third year of football, I was still not a senior in college because none of my credits transferred from Uppsala. So I decided that I needed to work more than I needed to go to school at the time. So I was working part-time / full-time, and kind of started going part-time to college. So that's what took me a little bit longer to get out of college. But I was working in my field already. I worked in various fitness centers and corporate fitness for about 8 years in and out of college. And then I transitioned from there to a lot of other careers.
It's very nice.
That's nice to hear. And do you feel like anything like any experiences, any classes you went in at the high school led to you, like any of your experiences that you choose your career, any other things you might have studied?
I had a couple things. I mean, art obviously was the first one, Mr. Bogardus, or Bo. I was the first person to have an independent study art class. My senior year, they didn't have art for, and so I asked and begged and pleaded, rather than sitting in a study hall, can I do an independent study art class? So that's what we did. So Bo was instrumental in me really falling in love with art. I still do. I still love art now, and drawing, sculpting, painting. Then Mr. Krupe, who was my science teacher, I remember I think I was a sophomore in high school, and I said, why don't your fingers ever get any bigger? You use them all the time.
Yeah.
And he goes, I'll tell you how to look it up, you look it up, and then you do a report for me. So I had to do a one-page paper on why my fingers move, but they don't get any bigger. And found out that there's no muscles in your hand, they're all tendons, and they tie into your arms. So then all of a sudden, I'm looking into, that's why I started looking into physical therapy, that's why it was more interesting to me.
That's what started the
I
whole
wanted to see how the body worked. I love the mechanics of movement. So I'll watch a baseball game with my wife, and she's like, don't say it again. Oh, the pitcher's dropping his elbow too far. That's why his velocity's off. Like, I'll see little things. And so,
most things that
and it just, that's what makes it more interesting. That's what I love about coaching. I can tell a child that you tell them 15 things, it's gone. But if I tell them, this is why you're going to put your foot here like this. This is why you're going to drive your hand this way.
You know the actual reason.
And this is pressure, and this is what I say about. That's what I say about the movement and why you're doing it. I like telling people why before they ask me. And then my kind of love of communication, and I do talk a lot, but my love of communication and expressing, that came from Miss Nebraska. She was wonderful. I just, these three people engaged me, influenced me, and really set me up for patterns in life that I still look back at. So
that's very nice.
They're all wonderful.
We understand you have a lovely wife, 3 sons. How has expanding your family changed your outlook on education, if it has at all?
Well, the good thing is that my 3 sons are, 3 children I should say, take after their mother. That's the best way to put it. I didn't struggle in school, but I was one of those kids that they said, if he only applied himself. And literally it was, and not until being diagnosed many years later, well past college, with a condition, that was part of what hurt me. And there's a lot of exercise to do, but the kids, they really do. Their mother was valedictorian here. she just has it all put together. And then kids are all thriving that way as well. Max and Jake are looking at colleges right now.
Oh, that's exciting.
Max wants to go to West Point. Jake is looking at Harvard/Pace/Marymount/Rutgers Mason Gross. And Luke, being a freshman, obviously is not.
He doesn't time.
Yeah, but they. I think if I, get to the answer, there's a part of me that, it hurts me when people say high school's not important or school's not important. Well, I'm not going to go to college. I'm not going to do this. So what is school so important for? And I think it gets too caught up in the fact of, is history important? Is math important? Is English important? No, it's the study habits. It's the learning. It's expanding your brain. And that's what I've always tried to translate to my children. You might not like history, or sorry, history teachers. I love it. But you might not like history.
Yeah.
But the idea of expanding through that is what we've always translated to our kids, and my outlook is what makes that outlook allows them to open their minds and explore new things and try new things without being hurt by it. I mean, I get notes from teachers all the time. They go out of their way to help this one. They do this to do that.
That's what's important.
And to me, that's and being allowed to do that. That's a wonderful thing as well. So that's so the idea of education and the idea of married with kids is yes, of course it changed my outlook, because I have to your whole scope changes. You don't just think about what is important just for you. But I can tell you this, I've never been that person. I think about everybody else before me. And everybody that knows me will tell you that. So,
that's good.
So.
Yeah, it's like you just get like a different perspective like once you're out.
Yeah, I think it's I was in the same trap as most teenagers are, young adults, I would say, as well. That trap is generally along the lines of, I'm invincible. I can drive 100 miles an hour in my car. I can jump off that bridge, and nothing's going to happen to me. Your perspective changes when you get older, or when you have kids, and you're going, wait a minute. I don't need to live for them, but I need to live for them.
Yeah.
So our brains, I won't get into the psychology of it, but our brains we change. Our functions change because we're looking at things in a different picture. So that's another thing that I try to translate to my children. It's like, today is today, tomorrow's tomorrow, but you want to have tomorrow as well. So
yes, it's very well put.
Yeah, I see that like you're very like passionate about like education, and like you said you have like a lot of love for keyboard, and like we understand like you're also involved Keyboard Football Association, the KFAA.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us more about your involvement with the association and with the community in general?
2016, we played an alumni football game against Keensburg. We raised a lot of money through ticket sales, T-shirt sales, and for general fundraising, and we didn't know what to do with it. So we have all this money. What are we going to do with it? We can't keep it, So we're looking at maybe Friends of the Bayshore. We'll donate it to them, or we're just trying to find places, or the food pantry, whatever we can do with it. We decided that we would donate some money to the school, which we did, and then we took the rest and we started the KFAA. I tend not to say the Keyboard Football Alumni Association as much as I say the KFAA, because we're more than that. We're more than football. We have been more than football for a very long time. I am the secretary of the KFAA. And I'm not an unsung hero, but I don't look for accolades. But what we do is we provide mentoring programs to anybody that wants them. We'll help people get jobs. We'll point you in the right direction if we can. We provide support to athletic teams, the school, where we can if asked. We tend not to just go, oh, here's a bunch of cleats for the football team. We don't do things like that. But and we're a small organization, so we're always looking for new people to come in. But I've always had a calling, I guess, to help and be a part of, and more than me, more than myself. it started young. My mother was a nurse at Bayshore Hospital. She was director of nursing at Bayshore Hospital.
Wow.
And I learned a lot of compassion and empathy from her, which was very strong, and that's kind of where my life is and why I choose to be a part of things that I can help. If anybody that knows me, if you ask, I don't always know to go, hey, you need help, but if you ask, I'm here, I'm there, and and we really just try to give back as much as possible. I think we probably do, to be fair, the most amount with the football team, but they don't really need as much from us. Like, you know, what I mean by that is, it's more about the one person on the football team. Like I always say, and I've said this for years, you don't know what happens behind people's closed doors.
Yeah.
I've coached lots of kids, and I've dropped them off the houses with all the lights on, and said, wait a minute, let me go, you hungry? You got dinner? No. Let's go get some food.
That's
Get
good.
food, and then I'll bring them back, and I'll say, hey, listen, you know what? If nobody's home, you can stay at my house till somebody gets home, and then I'll bring them back. So those, when you talk about, I don't think left behind is the right term, but talking about how you can help and how you, it's those things that when you say, you know, I don't know if it's the right word, but outcast, like the kid that's the outcast, invite him over to the lunch table.
Yeah.
Hey, what are you doing after school today? Oh, tell me about your, you know, oh, I see you're interested in X. And I think if we do a lot more of that, especially in a small school, that's the best part about the school. That's what I love most about Keyboard School. You don't have 2,500 students. I have friends that graduated from Madawan, and they go, did you know your whole senior class? They're like, no. I know my whole senior class. I knew the whole class. I know everybody, freshman up. Like, and I'm not, and yes, I was very personable, but I'm not the person that's like, oh, yeah, like you should know everybody. But I knew everybody.
Yeah.
So, and that's what, and there's something about that. I mean, most of the people I graduated with still live in the area, whether it's Keyport, Newton Beach, or close. You know, there's not many that move that far away. So, I think there's something that ties you back.
Now for the important question.
Okay.
What does it mean to be a Red Raider?
I was thinking about this. The first part is I would talk about, you know, when I was here as a Red Raider. I really think that there was a plus to the idea that, you know, if you're talking about sports, that we were very well respected in sports. Even if we lost, we were like, we lost by points, but we didn't win, you know. It goes right back to what I was saying about the size of the school, the camaraderie, the togetherness. I think that was not just, it wasn't done by one person. It was collectively as a whole. Now, it defines me in a way that people understand what the schools, I shouldn't just say high school, but what the schools do for the community, what they do for the, you know, what they do to bring people together, how they engage, how you can have a conversation, like, oh, you were a Red Raider, I was a Red Raider. Like, it's kind of the togetherness, and it doesn't have to be sports. I understand a Red Raider is, you know, it's any student in school. So I think there's a big positive to how my life is molded out from that. I'll give you a very silly thing. My wife and I, when we were dating, almost engaged but dating, moved to Roselle Park. She used to work in Parsippany. It was, you know, she wanted to move closer.
Yeah.
So we lived in this apartment, and for 2 years we sat there staring at it, going, every Thursday or Friday we were coming back here. Like staying at her parents' house, staying at her parents' house the whole week. It's like I have an apartment 4 days a week, and on Fridays I stay at my mother's house or whatever.
Yeah.
And we kept this magnet kept pulling us back. It kept pulling us back, and it wasn't just our families; it was the community, it was everybody around us. I grew up in Keyport. I eventually moved to Union Beach. That's where I live now. But it's the same. I mean, Union Beach kind of has that same feel as Keyport.
Yeah.
So it wasn't about anybody in particular. It was just about having to be here. And I think a lot of small communities and smaller schools have that. They have that you know, maybe you want to branch out for a while, but somehow or another you end up back.
Yes.
You know, so I think that's that's to me the community, the togetherness, the idea of us being it being more than ourselves, and you just see it all the time. I mean, I just see so many people that give back. You know, John Merlo's a good example. He's a sergeant at arms at the KFA. But he's also part of probably like, what, 7 or 8 different volunteer organizations. And he's like, can you help me here, can you help me here? And I'm like, I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
So these are people that, you know, just as one example of people that give back. The president of the KFA, Greg Burns, he's very quiet behind the scenes, but boy, does he give back in a lot of different ways. And he just gives and gives, and it's just kind of seeing that from people that are in my organization, outside of the organization. You know, how we partner with the KEF on things. We've done lots of different things, and it's just a matter of how can we. You know, I think people are always looking. You hear like, what can we do more? And I think we live in a very immediate society these days that I can get an answer right away, and and if I can't get it right away, then I don't want to bother with it. You know, and I'm not talking about struggle. I'm talking about like, oh, if I can't just throw money at it and fix it, then I don't want to bother with it.
Yeah.
And there's more to it than that, because money doesn't solve problems.
Exactly.
Well, Kevin, we really enjoyed like hearing all you had to say to us about your experiences, the influence, and we really like to thank you for being here this day with us.
I appreciate your time. This was a fun experience. Thank you for having me.
Of course, thank you, Kevin. And thank you all for watching Alumni Spotlight. Until next time, I'm Emma Clifton.
And I was there with these.
Thanks for watching.